And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Gene's a big-timer, a social misfit. Clueless to the title of the biggest buskeg hits. Chuck Munchie's goons have the last say. So thanks for your time, Mr. Mayo. Danger likes his cold ones and he likes his bears. But this is Rochester, cute Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
He's critical of Sean, he's critical of Al. And of course he married Sandy, cause she's Italian. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
All right, here we are, one more day removed from the Bills' disappointing loss at Arrowhead in the AFC Championship game. It is the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia, and we're glad you're with us this afternoon at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app. We've got the stream up on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester and on Twitch at The Fan Rochester as well. Like and subscribe there. I'm Danger, that's Battaglia.
Are we ready to move on or no? And granted, we're talking just a lot of casual football fans, a lot of casual Bill fans, but still talking with people outside our building, Danger, talking about the officiating, listening on my way in on One Bill's live. I was an official. Okay, like.
So I've been thinking a lot about this, and I'm trying to equate what a lot of fans are hearing and what they're absorbing in sports media to what my job is, right? My job outside, this is not really work. This what we do here every day for 3 hours. This is fun for me.
Don't tell anybody we get paid for this. Yeah,
I know.
So.
My real job, is I'm a programmer, music programmer for music radio stations like 98 PXY here in Rochester. There's a couple of stations that I work with in Virginia, and the goal of my role or anybody that's in my role is how do we create a product that is as mass appeal to as many people, it appeals to as many people as possible. The biggest complaint I hear with that job is, man, you play the same songs over and over again. It's like, yeah, we play the hits. That way when you tune in, you're going to be met with an expectation that, we're going to deliver on an expectation. Mm-hmm. You're going to hear the biggest song at the moment, whatever that might be. We're going to deliver on an expectation. We're going to provide you with something that is mass appeal that everybody hopefully knows and can understand and can relate to. And I think that's what's happening in sports talk radio. It's no different. In sports talk radio or sports media, you play the hits. You play the beats that everybody wants to relate to or everybody can relate to. It's easy. It's low-hanging fruit. It's delicious. It's satiating to get it off your chest and to say the refs screwed us over. When those of us who watched the game, you could say those calls were bad calls. And I would say those bad calls did not cost the Buffalo Bills the game. They didn't. They just didn't. I can't hear that. I won't hear that. But for a lot of people, that's an easy thing for them to gravitate towards because they're not as immersed in it as we all are. Mm-hmm. Somebody that really watches the games, really picks it apart, analyzes the play of each individual part, looks at film, whatever you might do in addition to just watching the game on Sunday. But if you're a casual fan and you only watch a handful of games a year, or you say you're a Bills fan and you watch the games, but it's easy to complain about the refs. It's also easy, and this is the thing that I've heard steadily now for the last 24 hours after the Bills loss. And this is the one that I think is hilarious. And it's not just a Bills thing. It's ex-coach needs to be fired. In this case, it would be Sean McDermott. But also I'm hearing John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh and Sean McDermott both need to be fired. If you're ever going to get by Kansas City, extreme changes need to happen for these teams because they're never going to do it. They're never going to be able to get past Kansas City and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes if you keep going down this course. And again, I hear that and I think, they're playing the hits. It's an easy thing to say the coach should be fired. In fact, it's too easy to say that the coach should be fired. This coach isn't going to be fired. And he honestly shouldn't be fired. I think that this season, Sean McDermott did his best coaching job as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills throughout the entirety of the season.
We're on to the next thing quite often. Like, if you think you're upset about this, do you know in New Orleans in 2019 they held a parade? The NOLA no call, they called it, in the NFC Championship game. They thought they were screwed over one call. Terrible non-call in that game.
Right.
Nickel Roby-Coleman, obvious PI, flag doesn't come out. And then the NFL does the knee-jerk reaction that, all right, we're going to make this reviewable. But the funny thing that happened was they never made it reviewable, and it just kind of went away. Mm-hmm. So I say you can have the request for better officiating. Absolutely. Use technology. Of course.
Yes.
But to rewrite what happened Sunday night in your mind's eye and say, well, the Buffalo Bills would have won that call had Dawson Knox been awarded that.
Yeah, it should never come down to a play or two. You could say that they got the spot wrong on that play. Yeah, maybe they did. Or maybe they shouldn't have called the tush push for the fourth consecutive time. I don't know. There's, why wasn't James Cook out there? Explain why he wasn't out there at the end of the game. I mean, I've heard people say, well, they stuck to their guns, and what they do in late game situations is, in passing situations, they put Ty Johnson out there. They don't put Cook out there, and Ty Johnson was out there, so they stuck to their guns, and James Cook, who was the most effective player for the Bills next to Josh Allen in the second half, was nowhere to be found in that final drive.
Yeah, so we're left to speculate, okay, was Cook okay? And, you saw him just kind of walking around like he wasn't, but that's a leap there to say, I haven't heard a report. We had yesterday Ryan Talbot on with us. We talked to our experts. I'd yet to see anything in regards to James Cook. Why wasn't he out there? There are other reasons, and that would be, number one, execution, particularly on that last drive.
You could start with the first drive of the game. It all matters. I mean, the Bills came out clunky. That first drive was sloppy. It didn't look like it was scripted. It didn't look like it was going the way it was supposed to go. Josh might have had some jitters. He might have been amped up. Whatever the case was, one team came out looking like a championship caliber team, and the other team came out looking like a clown show. Now, the Bills did what they've done all season: slow start, adjust, get back into the game, and get back into the game quickly. And they were in it. I mean, they don't have to hang their heads down low. They lost, but it could have been a lot worse than it was. And we haven't even mentioned their opponent, who might be one of the best NFL teams we've ever seen. This iteration of the Kansas City Chiefs might not look as impressive as last year's or the year before, but they have the ability to do the exact same thing that they've done the previous 2 years, and that's something that has to be taken into account as well. So with all the noise and all the chatter of the last 24 to 48 hours and everybody that's talking about how it could have gone and what could have changed, fire the coach, I just want to look at the big picture, all of it together, not just the officials got it wrong or where, Dalton Kincaid dropped the whatever it is. There's more than one thing, and just talking and focusing in on the coach should be fired or the refs screwed us, to me, feels like sports media is just playing the hits, and a lot of people are just gobbling it up.
Well, and look, you're saying sports media. The Talking Head show is on last night, and that's the lead. And here's one official marking it one way. Here's another. Let's discuss. I mean, it provides for some video that makes you go,
yeah, we all saw it.
Yeah. We
all saw it. And you could say they got it wrong. Sure. They got it wrong. Should it be better? Yep. Officiating is a problem in every sport, in every league. You're going to get some missed calls. That's why I can't really burn a ton of calories talking about how it affects the outcome of a game. It shouldn't. It shouldn't affect the outcome of the game. Do you hear Philadelphia complaining about any missed calls in their win? No, because they throttled their opponent. They absolutely took care of business. Michael, reaching out to us on Elon's Twitter, that's X, every positive thing I hear the Bills have going for them is turning me into Francesa. Still have Josh Allen.
Oh, who cares?
AFC East is still weak.
Oh, who cares?
Running backs and offensive line set for the future?
Oh, who cares?
Tyler Bass redeemed himself.
Oh, who cares?
Oh, who cares? Someone talked me off the ledge.
Your analogy, my analogy is this, and this is called a sports bar, right? We do this kind of metaphor thing. You're all hungover, right? You had a great night, meaning the night here being the season, and whether it's an IPA or a box of wine, you took it all down, and now it's the morning after. Now, Mike, you're telling me you're never going to have another drink again? Of course you will. You just need you need to dry out. I think Bills fans just need to dry out.
Oh, yeah. And Michael, you and I and everybody else will all be, it'll take the start of the league year, a couple of free agent moves. It'll take the draft. It'll take mini camp. It'll take training camp. We'll be back. We'll absolutely be back.
All right, we might be back as soon as Brandon Beane talking and just being real with you.
Sure. It could be as simple as that. It could be Brandon Beane holding himself accountable, but sharing a message for the future of what we were able to do this year versus what we could do maybe in the future, knowing that we have a few extra dollars to spend, a little bit more flexibility. Yeah, you could get fired up just hearing that guy lay out what the future might look like.
Yeah, I think we are in uncharted territory. Here's my take today. Anybody wants to join us, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Before we get to my take, Danger, we got to just kind of mention, well, it is the time of year where people get sick. Matt Perino is under the weather today, so he just, even on air, wouldn't sound good. So we're going to just holster Matt Perino until next week. So Matt unable to join us today, but next hour.
You mentioned that Bills fans are kind of hungover right now. Maybe that's Perino is just still kind of drying out a little bit after what was, I'm sure, an emotionally draining season covering the team, and then you end it all in Kansas City with that loss going the way it did. We'll get Matt Perino from the Syracuse Post-Standard back on with us to talk Bills a week from today in his normal 3:25 Tuesday afternoon slot. We are going to talk later this afternoon to Rochester Americans head coach Mike Leone. He stops by at 4:25, and we've got a lot to get to with him as well as the Emirates coming off a big win in Hartford against the Wolfpack with a lot of penalty minutes. What is it, 160 penalty minutes dished out?
Yeah, a line brawl at the end of the second period. Now, it started when, and this is, you are taught this early on, the whistle blows.
Don't shoot the puck.
Don't shoot the puck. That is cheap. It's dirty. It was done by Hartford, but you know what? After what happened last time, it was on.
Yep.
So not only did you win on the road, you beat the crap out of them.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fantastic.
I think it's the kind of game that sends a message not just to Hartford, but to the rest of the league. Like, this is what we stand for. Good luck trying to stop us.
We're in first place, and if you're going to mess with us, here it comes.
Well, they have a chance to gain some ground on Laval here with the game coming up against Utica tomorrow night, and we'll talk to Mike Leone and get set up for that tomorrow night at Blue Cross Arena as well. He stops by at his normal Tuesday afternoon time right around 4:25. And we'll check in with Michael F. Florio, our buddy from NFL Network. We'll put a bow on the Bills' season, get Florio's takes on it. I know that he has some strong opinions on what we saw on Sunday from Arrowhead.
Yeah, and so Terrible Time Timmy, 5:30, Fisher and Nazareth, Rochester's best college basketball rivalry. That is coming up. We could take your calls. Here's my take here first. Had the opportunity to go on JR last night.
Oh, yeah, JR Sport Brief.
And
did you ask him about doing the backstroke in a tub of Cheez-Its on New Year's Eve?
I didn't, because I was a guest in his show, and I wanted to, hopefully be invited back at some point. And inevitably, you talk about playing the hits. The hits here being Josh Allen, but he's bringing up points. Like, this is uncharted now. It really is. 8 years, head coach and quarterback, and not to get to the Super Bowl. Josh Allen, did you know this? Has the most playoff wins in NFL history amongst quarterbacks who have never reached the Super Bowl. What is the comp here? Well, the comp is Peyton Manning getting past Tom Brady. Is it? I think we kind of passed that, especially if the Chiefs get to 3. I mean, what is the comp in sports that the Bills can't get by this team when it matters most? And I told JR, I'm like, well, it was way before my time, but the Brooklyn Dodgers hit the old man music or the baseball writer music. But for a decade, they couldn't get past the Yankees until finally once they did. And then 3 years later, they were in Los Angeles. So, like, my point is, Danger, like, we are enjoying this time, But there's nothing else you can compare this to in football history. If you say Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, I'll listen to that. But I think now this is blown right past that.
Well, I think what we have is that kind of rivalry between two exceptional quarterbacks, and eventually Manning did get by. Yesterday, when we were kind of doing our post-game moratorium, moratorium, not a moratorium. That's when you cease talking about something, right?
And what, an autopsy? Or,
yeah, you say it was an autopsy of the season. I said that this is the kind of thing, this is the kind of loss. It's unfortunate. It's inconvenient that you're playing at a time where Mahomes, who could be the Michael Jordan of the NFL, is doing what he's doing. And to me, it's not about, I compared Josh Allen, like it reduces him to nothing more than Phillip Rivers or Warren Moon. And I say that not as a pejorative. I say that in that these are guys that weren't able to get there, even though they're Hall of Fame quarterbacks. They've got unbelievable resumes. It's not entirely fair to say that about Josh Allen, because when you look at Phillip Rivers' playoff stats versus Josh Allen's playoff stats, it's clear they're not losing games because of Josh Allen. Josh Allen has been excellent in the postseason. Excellent. Whereas if you look at Phillip Rivers statistically in the postseason, not great. Could never get past, Brady or Manning, and just not great.
I mean, Warren Moon had 2 losses, one being the comeback game where he was great.
Yeah.
So, but Allen has surpassed anybody, again, who hasn't reached a Super Bowl. That will be his legacy, Danger. Greatest quarterback all time never to reach a Super Bowl.
It could be, but it's not. I don't put it on him. I put it on the Bills' defense, honestly. I mean, think about the way they lost on Sunday, the way the 13-second game, everybody still remembers. It's still raw. I mean, you look at some of these playoff losses, and I feel like the defense really kind of let him down, and they've let him down. I would say the Cincinnati loss a few years ago was kind of
that was his worst game.
Mutually, like just everybody was poor that game. But the defense gave up more points to Kansas City than they have scored all season long. This is a Sean McDermott defense. This is supposed to be. I know that they don't have a ton of talent and some injuries played a part in it, but again, if you want to point the finger at McDermott and say he was outcoached, hard for me to say you're wrong in this instance because of how the game started for Kansas City versus how the game started for the Bills, the adjustments that were made. But I would still say in the same breath, this was still Sean McDermott's best season as the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. He still needs to be better. This was Josh Allen's best season as quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. He still needs to be better. And your best may still not be good enough because you're going up against somebody who might be the greatest of all time.
So how does that look different next year? Well, the positives being you would like to think, on paper at least, you'll have an improved roster. You have money to spend. I think we can kind of make that conclusion that we will say next year's roster will be better than this year's. You have 2 coordinators who have now a full year of experience under the belt. They were green. Babbage, green. Hey, we like Joe Brady and the job he did. Look, he got out Fox.
Yeah, that wasn't a good job.
No.
He had his worst game as a coordinator, unfortunately, at the worst time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it goes. Typically, that's how it goes. You're better for that struggle. You improve, and you look to, 13 seconds isn't going to ever happen again, right? We can all agree, like, okay, that was terrible, but it's never going to happen again, and they're not going to allow that to happen again. It's unfortunate that you have to learn by making a mistake so grand, but Joe Brady will learn from the game that he called on Sunday, which wasn't his best. He will be better for it. He's going to be better
you have
for
to
the struggle.
The Chiefs are going to show you things that they hadn't shown before.
Yeah.
I mean, if we were just neutral football observers, that call on 4th and 5 by Kansas City, the execution, that nobody tipped that off that was coming. Had Sirens Torrance completely fooled.
Yeah. They're just a better team. And it's very inconvenient that the Bills have what they have in Josh Allen, and they're playing at a time when they're going up against what could be the best football dynasty we've ever seen. Highly inconvenient.
Yeah, and with that too, Danger, McDermott, coordinators, Allen, Brandon Beane.
Sure.
I saw this take. It's a good take. You remember the Rams? The Rams won a Super Bowl. And what was their mantra? F those picks.
Oh, F those picks. Right. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So if you're taking it, and look, we have a long way to go this offseason. But knowing that the first round has yielded you Dalton Kincaid still waiting, Keon Coleman, fingers crossed, Kyer Elam on his way out of the league, do you want to roll the dice and develop a first-round player, or use that chip and go out and get someone that can help you now? I think Bills fans, for the first time, Danger, would kind of agree with me. Hey, if there is an established veteran that can help you win now, hey, Brandon Beane did that with Diggs, and it served its purpose at the time.
Yeah, I would listen to that, but I would also listen to getting more out of the players that supposedly need development. Like, you invested a first-round draft pick in Kyer Elam. It's a bust. Mm-hmm. Dalton Kincaid, not great. Not great. For a guy that supposedly had great hands, a guy that you traded up to get in the draft, not great. Ed Oliver, Greg Rousseau, they're fine players. I want somebody, if they are going to hold on to those draft picks, I want somebody that immediately can be impactful. I want somebody like a Trey White when they hit on Trey White early in his career. Like a Deion Dawkins, who's been a contributor from the jump. Like an Osiris Torrance, who started as a rookie and was very effective as a rookie. I want more of those kind of contributors and worry less about guys that need further development. Cole Bishop, guys like that. Like, we need to get those guys, ramped up. No, we Keon Coleman. I want them to come in and contribute right away. Those are the draft picks. And so maybe where I have the issue is maybe it's less about trading those picks and more about the way they've developed the guys that they pick. I expect them to be, if you're picking them in the first or second round, I want them on the field. We see it too often in the NFL, and the Chiefs are great at this. This is the reason why they can survive and still win championships while they're paying Patrick Mahomes all the money that they're paying him, and Chris Jones and Travis Kelce, all that they're paying those guys, because they're getting contributions out of their young guys that they've drafted in the last 3 years.
Look, that's a luxury where you can let your rookie get downs and still win games. I mean, you don't have to look any further than Xavier Worthy. Okay, yes, he had 2 touchdowns the opening night, but he was making mistakes, being out of bounds, fumbling the ball, to the point where I'm like, maybe the Bills won this trade. And then you see what this is all leading up to.
Yeah.
Sunday night. Yeah.
He made a lot of mistakes. He's made a lot of mistakes his rookie year. Kind of expect that to happen. But if he's worth his weight, he's not going to make those mistakes twice. He's going to learn from those mistakes, just like we were talking about with Joe Brady and Bobby Babbitt, young and green coordinators. They make mistakes. They're going to learn from them. Players are going to make mistakes and learn from them as well. And I think if they're out there as a rookie and making those mistakes, you don't have to worry about them developing. They're going to develop. They're going to develop pretty quick. 866-4326 is our phone number.
Yeah, we had to call Steve, who wanted to talk about the tush push and why the Bills were doing it wrong. Steve, you're welcome to call back.
Okay,
buddy.
so Steve couldn't hang on.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying yesterday, I when you look at the tush push side by side, Eagles and Bills, I think the two teams that kind of execute this more so than any other team, the way the Eagles executed is not the same as the way the Bills executed. And Josh will go lateral before he surges forward into the gap, whereas Hurts always goes forward. They just always get that push up front.
It could just be a byproduct of Josh as a bigger guy.
6'7".
Yeah,
right? Yeah, it's a tougher thing.
That's a tougher thing to scooch through there.
And you think about the risk involved in that play. I mean, you fumble the ball on one of them, right? I mean, like it's not in Kansas City doesn't even execute it. Why? Because the one time they tried it, Patrick Mahomes blew out his knee, and you've got an injury that you got to deal with. So they don't even execute the quarterback sneak. It's not in their playbook. I'm not saying that they should eliminate it from their playbook. It's a play that was very effective for them through the course of the year, and it's probably not going away. But in the spirit of that game, when you're in the moment and you see, oh, God, they've got us stuffed or they've figured us out, we're going to keep going to the well, that's where I think you could question McDermott and Brady in terms of the incessantly going back to that call with limited success. If you have that play in your playbook and you execute it, you should get that yard easily. They were struggling. They weren't able to get that yard or that yard and a half that you see Philly get almost every time they execute it.
We starting to look at the Super Bowl or no?
Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
No.
But we should talk about. We talked about it briefly yesterday. We haven't had a chance to really dive into this, and I think let's just call it a palate cleanser. Something that can get our minds off of the AFC Championship game. Something that can make us all feel better about ourselves. And certainly if you're a fan of this team, it's something that's going to make you glow. It's even in the wake of a disappointing performance last weekend, this is something that I think Commanders fans, when they hear it and they see it and they hear about it, they can be like, oh, that's awesome.
This article by Wickersham, I think, should have gotten more run danger, but it was we want to get this out there before Washington season ends or before they reach the Super Bowl. We need to get this out. If this was released today, more people would be talking about this, because if you needed confirmation that Daniel Snyder was not just the worst owner, but one of the worst humans ever to walk this planet.
Yeah, he's bad.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Discuss it next. The Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line is open for you at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
update.
2 Bills players are going to the Pro Bowl. James Cook named as the replacement for Derrick Henry. Connor McGovern replacing Chiefs center Creed Humphrey. Josh Allen, by the way, not going to the Pro Bowl. He gets replaced by Steelers quarterback Russell Wilson. Chris Brown today on One Bills Live talking about the Bills' roster needs.
You got to find a way to get an elite pass rusher on this roster next year, and like a number one guy that can win at receiver that's probably even a little bit better than, an Amari Cooper. You're at a point now where you have depth on this roster. You have capable depth players. You got to get a couple of elite guys to push your roster past the caliber of Kansas City's.
Michael F. Florio, NFL Network and Bills fan, will join us next hour in the Sports Bar. Sabres hockey tonight, Buffalo hosting Boston. That game on 96.5 WCMF. St. John Fisher tonight taking on Nazareth. Coverage begins at 5:30. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
We're back in the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia, Amerik's head coach, Mike Leone. About an hour from now, Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, still to come before 5 o'clock as well. And tonight, Fisher, Naz, Gino.
Yeah,
good stuff.
This will be a lot of fun. So, yes, if you love basketball, keep it with us here tonight. Danger, I'll ask you a question here. And like you and I are maybe not the best ones to do this because we're both happily married. But, a lot of our friends are divorced and, or maybe you've been together with somebody for a long time. And when that relationship comes to an end, I mean, I would hope you would want the best for that person and be happy and whatnot.
Yeah.
No?
I think most of the time, all things end badly. Otherwise, they don't end.
So therefore,
I don't mean to be black and white about it, but like, I always kind of like, oh, we're still friends. Okay, maybe you're telling yourself
that I don't get.
Yeah,
that I don't get. Where you especially if kids are involved, you got to be civil. Maybe you treat it like a business sort of relationship,
right?
But you're not wanting the other person just to be miserable and pining for you, or is that the case? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I can't speak to – I mean, I just remember any relationship that I was in before I married Sandy ended badly. I don't speak to any of them, not really friends with any of them. Why would we continue to be friends? Or what do we gain from that? If we wanted to remain friends, then we wouldn't have broken up. We wouldn't have ended the partnership, the relationship, whatever it is. And in the spirit of the direction you're going, maybe that's the way he feels about this as well. Like, I don't know how I don't think we can put ourselves in the shoes of a multi-billionaire who is overseas right now pouting about the success that his team had the first season that he wasn't involved with it.
So where we're going with this, Daniel Snyder, the former owner of the Washington football team, we said this kind of jokingly, like, my gosh, can you imagine if Washington makes it? Somebody's going to track down Daniel Snyder. Little did we know that Seth Wickersham was already on the beat.
That's right.
So if you review the quick history of Daniel Snyder, I mean, like pretty much everybody else that owns an NFL team, he comes from some money. He has time in his childhood being over in England. That's where he got a lot of his schooling, and that's why he's over there today. But to connect with his father, he became a Washington football fan. And in his words, love the team. Love the team. Couldn't imagine anybody else owning that team. And he, hey, look at me, Dad. I'm buying the team. And how did that go? The headline here, Danger. Well, wouldn't you want the team that you loved once upon a time to be enjoying this success? No, this success? No. He bleeping hates it. F-word hates it.
Yeah. Yeah, he hates it because he's no longer a part of it. He can't handle the idea that there are people out there smarter than he is that actually learned how to build a winning culture after he absolutely decimated that building.
So it finally comes the time, and you heard this from Irsay, remember, like, usually NFL owners would all provide a united front until this guy just became too much, until there was too many lawsuits. But really what, to me, Danger, wasn't his bad behavior, and trust me, there's plenty of it. It's the fact that he stole from his partners.
Yep, stealing money.
That's what it was. So if you're not familiar, ticket revenue for visiting teams has to be shared. And what he did was he cooked the books in Washington, meaning, hey, some of this ticket revenue, we're not going to put it on NFL games. We're going to put it on whatever the bowl game that was they had back then.
Yeah.
So that's what raises the flag. Like, okay, this guy can't be trusted.
Which, in and of itself, really is kind of a black eye. It's not surprising, but it is kind of a black eye on how the NFL operates and moves, right? Like, there are so many lawsuits against this guy. It's a hostile work environment, sexual harassment, all kinds of stories and reports out there on the way this guy was operating his team, in the fashion in which he operated this team would make your skin crawl. But it wasn't that was the thing that prompted them to take action and remove him from his ownership of the team. It was, oh, you're taking money from us? Now you're done. Now you're done.
We don't
You
trust
can be
you.
a piece of crap human being, but the second you take money from us, hit the bricks, pal. You're out of here. That's the NFL. That's how you really make change happen in the NFL. If it's bad for business, they will make that change.
So then you have lots of things happen along the way. And you have the quote from Snyder that, well, he's not going to go because he knows a lot about this league. He knows where the bodies are buried.
Yeah.
And like, oh, boy.
He's ready to take down some people with him.
He's going to sing like a canary, right? All right, well, they come to this agreement, but in Snyder's mind, he still thinks he's going to own the team. And the agreement was, all right, Daniel, you need to sell the team. For how much? Daniel says, I'll do it for only $6 billion. That's $1 billion more than what Denver had just went for. He put the number out there thinking nobody's going to reach this until a funny thing happened.
Yeah.
Somebody actually went for $6 billion. Wow. And every other NFL owner is thinking, wow, if Washington's going to go for $6 billion, what's this going to mean for my franchise?
Right.
Everything just went up there.
I also think it was hilarious from the Wickersham piece that the final selling price was something like $6.06 billion, but before he could turn over the keys, before he could sell the team, he had to pay a fine. Like, he was fined on his way out the door, and the amount of that fine conveniently put the team priced under $6 billion. It was I want to say a $700 million fine or $600 million, something like that. I can't remember what the exact numbers were, but it was enough money in a fine that dropped the price that he ended up getting for the team to below $6 billion. So his ego was probably a little bruised with that as well.
I don't know if you've had stressful house closings. I had one that was really stressful. You know, we're back and forth and something wasn't there. And it all came together at the 11th hour. And if you've, surely we have a lot of realtors. Yeah, you're nodding your head.
We have too many realtors. Everybody's a realtor. I think they had real estate licenses out at Wegmans now.
Dude, I'm driving on Empire Boulevard, and one of the Goombas in your neighborhood has a, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely, man. We have too many.
Yeah, like, wait a second. What are you doing over here on this side of town? You're
Way
not allowed
too many.
to sell property.
Too many realtors.
I digress.
My fault.
So this closing, right? Hey, it's a done deal. Yay. Yay. Coming up tomorrow, we're going to have the introductory press conference for Harris, the new owner. Yay. Yay.
A rally, everything.
7 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. The wire transfer hasn't gone through.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do it.
It's midnight.
Yeah.
It's 1 a.m. The source, according to Wickersham, Snyder saying, I'm not selling. I'm not doing it.
Just like the petulant child that we all imagine him to be, he was like that, and it's probably still like that to the very end.
I don't want to do this. I don't care. It'll be trespassing if anyone goes there. It's still mine. The league didn't know who was going to own the team and what would have ended up happening. And who was the peacemaker in this? Well, it was the guy that Daniel Snyder grew up idolizing, Joe Gibbs.
Yeah.
Joe Gibbs. Can you imagine that? Joe, we really need your help. Okay, it's 1 a.m. This better be good.
Right. What was Gibbs' take? Was that basically you're going to be remembered for all the wrong things if you go out like this?
The only way, his quote, the only way your legacy gets worse is if you rip this back now.
Yeah. Yeah, if it gets worse. Like you thought it couldn't get worse. Oh, it could get worse. He's going to storm off and have a tantrum and not sell the team at the 11th hour. Inevitably does the right thing, sells the team. And now the postscript is he's living in the UK.
He's over there doing probably terrible things in London.
Reportedly, it has an interest in getting into the Premier League.
Well, now, I don't know, how that all kind of works over there, but I do know this, Danger. Would you say that the passion for Premier League soccer is equal to, if not greater than, people's passion for NFL football?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In the UK, for sure.
To the point where I remember this from decades ago. Rochester native Malcolm Glazer. He owned the Buccaneers. His family still owns the Buccaneers today. And
Man U, I want to say, yeah.
Yeah. And people hated it.
Yeah.
You can't have an American come in and buy one of our teams.
That's right.
Hated him.
That's right.
Hated that move.
Yep, that's right. He will not be loved. And I don't think he'll end up owning any sort of franchise again. And I don't know that he even needs to, right? I mean, like, he's got the Lady S, and he's got whatever he's got going on. He's probably doing just fine, counting the billions of dollars that he's made and selling the team that he bought for it. When he bought that team, was it under – what was the price of that team when he bought it?
Oh, gosh.
It mentioned in the Wickersham, it was under $1 billion. I know that.
For sure. Like, yeah, he made his money 10 times over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the value of the organization skyrocketed during his time owning, and he got out at a time where he could, do what he wants to do, basically. I just think the one thing he's not going to be able to do is own a professional sports franchise, given his history. I loved that peek into Daniel Snyder from Seth Wickersham, even though Snyder isn't commented on it. It's those closest to Snyder. Now he's probably trying to figure out, all right, who's the guy that talked to Wickersham? He's probably, having a temper tantrum over how he's being portrayed in this Wickersham piece as a spoiled little rotten baby.
You got to look at it this way, too, in the NFL. Like, we as fans would think, I don't want to, have this now franchise well run. They're going to start winning games and everything else. That's how we as fans would look at this. Like, say, if you're a Giant and Eagle or Cowboy fan or anybody else in the league for that matter. No, the way they look at it, Danger, is, wow, $6 billion franchise, and this new stadium is going to go up right in D.C. here eventually, and this is going to mean more for my franchise, and everything is going to go up here.
Yeah.
That's the way they look at it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. A little bit of a palate cleanser if you're a Bills fan and are getting fatigued by all of the talk about officiating and whether or not the coach should be fired. Just understand that where we are versus where a lot of other teams were and are is still a pretty good place to be if you're an NFL fan. We got to go to another head coach who had his introductory press conference yesterday, Gino, and there were a couple things. We like to have fun at the expense of Sean McDermott during the regular season with his McDermott McLies, or a little lie counter. And when he tells a lie, it's not malicious. It's almost complimentary and flattering, but we all know, like, okay, he's lying.
BS.
He's really laying it on thick. Well, this is one that just when you hear it, it's just an outright, straight up lie, and I don't know how he sleeps at night. I mean, this is again, it's from the same organization that I said last week. Like, who do you think you're talking to? Who do you think you think your fans are completely oblivious? We'll tell you a little bit more about the introductory press conference of Liam Cohen in Jacksonville when we come back next in the Sports Bar. And don't forget Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach, stopping by at 425 as well on The Fan.
You're listening. Afternoons on The Fan, Rochester.
We're not there yet. We still got a couple of days going through. Coach and I haven't sat down and gone through the final board yet. We'll do that on Monday.
Good times.
Oh, somebody hire Trent Baalke, please. Is that what you're going to tell me?
That was 2024 Take of the Year nominee, Trent Baalke. Happier times. Last off season.
We nominated a fart
Yeah,
last year.
ripping one mid-sentence during a press conference. Not even, acknowledging it, moving forward. We've dubbed it like just it's gold. And Trent Baalke, survives the 2024 season in Jacksonville. Doug Peterson is let go. Trent Baalke appears to have retained his job. The Jags moved to quickly interview their top candidates, one being Liam Cohen of Tampa Bay. Well, word surfaces that Liam Cohen is going to stay in Tampa Bay, and they're going to make him a highly paid coordinator, the highest paid coordinator in the league to stay with Tampa Bay. And then he does a reversal, of course, only after Shad Khan fires Trent Baalke. And this might be an all-timer from Liam Cohen, new Jags head coach, who said at his introductory press conference yesterday that the firing of Trent Baalke did not impact his decision to come to Jacksonville. Are you kidding me?
Woo, smoke.
Sound the alarms. Every coach lies. But, man, this is his introductory press conference. How does he sleep at night? Knowing we all know exactly why you're there. It's because he's not there. That's why you're there.
You don't have to lie. You can pivot off the question, right? You could say, well, I wasn't here for that decision. You just can kind of just acknowledge it and not lie. But that's a bold-faced lie. They were having some fun on Maggie and Perloff, too. Like, they have their version of Drew Bledsoe doing the shout song, the fight song.
Right.
Or ooh.
Ayo. Right? That's the way Bledsoe does it.
Everyone down there, I don't know when it started, but just the Duval. We know that up here, right?
Right. That's the county that Jacksonville resides in, right? So they got Cohen into it. Duval. And, let's just say I don't know that it went the way he wanted it to go. This was Liam Cohen at his introductory press conference yesterday.
Duval.
Yikes. Yikes. Do we see an 0-17 season ahead for Jacksonville?
Duval.
That's your leader of men?
Sound a little Count Hesco-ish there, Duval.
How many losses will you endure in the 2025 season? 15, 16, 17 losses. Duval. Yeah, what could go wrong? You're lying through your teeth, and you're not getting the team's chant right. I just thought that was hilarious. Trent Baalke not being here had nothing to do with me making the decision to come here. Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, buddy. Yeah, we got
it. Jim Harbaugh has to say, my gosh, I should have pulled that off with the Niners years ago. He left the Niners because, oh my gosh, I can't deal with this Baalke. I'm going back to college.
Just sitting in a meeting with the guy. He just can't help himself. Get him out of here. Or I'll just go coach at Michigan. I'll be fine. I'll go coach at Michigan. You stay here. I'll be fine. We've got Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach, joining us. And there's a lot to unpack with the Amerks from this last weekend. We learned today that the Amerks have another addition to the AHL All-Star roster as well. Some big stuff happening with the team that we'll get Mike Leone's take on when he joins us here in about a half an hour or so. We have free tickets to give away. In fact, let's do caller 5 right now. It's a free pair of tickets to see comedian Jim Jeffries at Kodak Center coming up here on May 10th. You can get those tickets. They're on sale now at Ticketmaster.com, or win free tickets to see comedian Jim Jeffries when you call 5 now at 866-4FAN, 866-4326 to see Jim Jeffries at Kodak Center. And hey, while we're talking about winning free stuff, we want to send you on the ultimate trip to Vegas, air and hotel for 4 to Las Vegas, plus $5,000 for each guest, a total of $20,000 to fund the ultimate viewing experience for the first 2 rounds of the college basketball championships in March. Winning is easy. All you need to do is download the free Odyssey app, log in and listen to the Fan Rochester or any participating station. You listen each day for at least 1 hour, and you have your daily entry in our national contest, the ultimate trip to Las Vegas. If you want to win it, download and listen. The free-to-download Odyssey app. That's AUDACY.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester, is everywhere.
Joe's Brooklyn Pizza, a taste of the old neighborhood. Our pizzas are all handcrafted by trained pizzaiolis using fresh, locally sourced premium ingredients. Our tomato sauce is hand-mixed daily for optimum flavor and freshness. We cut our whole milk mozzarella cheese and grind our imported Pecorino cheese daily. Our pizza toppings are from local purveyors. We invite you to come in to Joe's Brooklyn Pizza for a taste of the old neighborhood. Mange!
Don't let biased algorithms or degree screens or exclusive professional networks, or stereotypes. Don't let anything keep you from discovering the half of the workforce who are stars. Workers skilled through alternative routes rather than a bachelor's degree. It's time to tear the paper ceiling and see the stars beyond it. Find out how you can make stars part of your talent strategy at tearthepaperceiling.org. Brought to you by Opportunity at Work and the Ad Council.
It's time to visit your local Vision dealer. Happening now at all Vision locations. It's your time to sign, then drive into 2025. It's easy. 0 down, 0 first month payment, 0 due at signing, and 0 charge for rust proofing, paint sealant, and interior protection. Rochester, that gives you 0 reasons to shop around. Don't wait because our unbeatable selection is going fast. So you better get down here and claim the color and options you want before your dream vehicle is gone. Hurry in now to any Vision location or go to our website and schedule your VIP appointment right now.
Don't miss one of the best home basketball schedules in years, featuring exciting matchups against Duke, North Carolina, NC State, and Virginia. Experience all the action at the newly renovated JMA Wireless Dome, now with upgraded chairback seating and premium sections for an enhanced game day experience. Secure your seats today by visiting Cuse.com/tickets. Be part of the excitement of Orange basketball.
Hey, this is Lisa Stofan. Heard the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis hype? Well, I attended because my father stopped smoking with hypnosis. Hypnosis eliminated my desire for soda and fast food, made me want to exercise.
WABF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Two Bills players named as replacements for the Pro Bowl. James Cook replacing Derrick Henry. Center Connor McGovern replacing Creed Humphrey of the Chiefs. Josh Allen not going to the Pro Bowl. He gets replaced by Russell Wilson. Dan Orlovsky today on One Bills Live on upgrading the back end of the Bills defense.
You can sit there and go, they got to get a difference maker in their back end. You know, Rasul's really good. I think the safeties were encouraging, but you got to get a difference maker back there. In the back end, I really believe that. You got to go get a Justin Reed or a Trent McDuffie or a Kyle Hamilton, somebody like that in your back seven.
Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, joining us later this hour. Sabres tonight hosting Boston. That game you can hear on 96.5 WCMF. St. John Fisher basketball tonight. The Cardinals hosting Nazareth. Our coverage will begin at 5:30. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
McDermott had them on the precipice of making the Super Bowl. Just once again, the Chiefs just made a few more plays at the end of the game.
I think they're right there. You know, this was a really good football team, a 13-win football team. It's just that line is so marginal, and I think that ends up being the sort of story of this team in this era of dominance in Kansas City.
Mike Danger.
If you rationalize this loss, because you could get very irrational and you can go a lot of dark places, but if you just look at it side by side, these two teams, and you just say, you know what? I'm sorry, they're just a little bit better. Just a little bit better.
Gene Battaglia.
That's also the frustrating part of this. Like, you know it's within grasp, but you can't beat Kansas City when it matters. Does it feel better that you played them close again? What is it going to take? No more Chiefs. No more.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
I feel like I've got to kind of expand on that. I always said, hey, it's going to have for Buffalo, I want Kansas City. No, I don't care now.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Just go away. Go away.
Let somebody else do the dirty work of dispatching Kansas City in the divisional round or the wild card round. Face somebody else in the AFC Championship game. Face Baltimore in the AFC Championship game. And then we can have something else to talk about. Oh, well, The Bills can't get over on the Ravens when it counts, even though they've beaten the Ravens twice in the postseason. You know, it's tough. It's tough, and we're still kind of here a day later licking our wounds and attempting to turn the page. Maybe they do a better job of it on One Bills Live. They're talking about, needs for the roster, and they're moving on a little too quickly for my liking, to be honest with you. I'm still a little raw.
Everybody, just check yourself, right? And follow me this on Danger. You're welcome to join us at 866-4FAN. I will get this back to the Buffalo Bills, but let me start off here on the road to this take. I think that parent behavior in youth sports is at an all-time low. I see it. That a lot of good coaches want to get out. You look in Section 5 right now. They run ads saying, "Hey, come be an official." It's tough because you're not getting paid a lot, and you're hearing it from every direction. And part of it is some parents just can't help themselves. When I see not one, but two members of school districts bitching about the officiating. And this isn't some teacher that doesn't know sports. These guys actually worked in the sports business, in the industry, complaining about officiating. Do you not understand that you're fostering this environment of attack the official? I'm not saying I'm going to defend the NFL at every cost, but some of the stuff online by people, like maybe that fans lose their minds, Danger, when their team does poorly. And if you are work for a school district, you need to be better. I'm sorry. Get offline.
I recognize what you're saying. It's tough. I wouldn't want to be an official. I would not want to be an official. I don't care what level you're talking about. If you're talking about youth athletics, I remember taking my daughter to soccer games. Hey, she's 8, 9, 10 years old, and these kids that are reffing the game, they're getting crushed by the parents. I'm like, oh, no, thank you. I mean, not worth it.
Go to any game at Lakeshore or the Tim Hortons Plex or whatever they call it. Like, you hear parents just putting their arms up in the air and yelling and being the official.
I grew up in this environment. My
Yeah.
dad was one of those parents. I remember vividly my old man, trying to intimidate an official after an away youth hockey game. We were out of town and calls didn't go our way, and my old man was that guy. He was trying to, he got so into it, and I was embarrassed. But I still remember it. I still remember to this day. I was embarrassed. My mom was embarrassed. You're embarrassing yourself. What are you doing? So I guess what you're saying, it's a long way of saying, hey, we can all agree that officiating is going to have moments of where they're poor. It's poor officiating. I think that's universal. I think that's every sport. In any game, there's going to be a missed call. And if an official's doing their job, we're not even talking about them. If they're doing the job really well, we're not even talking about them. But if we're going to stand for something, let's stand for ways that we can improve and make it better. And if that includes technology, great. Let's get that implemented how we can. And if you're the NFL, let's find a way to implement the technology without it ruining your precious made-for-TV product, because that was what made the digital line measurement fail in the preseason, right? Oh, it takes too long. Oh, it was. You can't tell me that it's a failure. If tennis can get it right, the NFL can get it right.
The NFL, all you have to do is scratch a check to one of these spring leagues and okay, try this out.
Yeah. They can get it right. I know they can get it right. When will they get it right? Well, that remains to be seen. But they can get it right. And I'm just, I said it last hour, and I'll repeat myself. When you're in sports media, if you're a consumer of sports media, you'll hear a lot of the same beats across many different shows. And you hear those beats because they kind of, on a national scale, they're playing the hits. They're the beats that people expect to hear. The officiating is terrible. Fire the coach. This quarterback can't get it done or isn't good enough. They're the beats that, it's nothing we've done in our show. I'd like to believe that we're better than that.
Well, if we're doing it.
But if we were doing a national show, if we were doing a national show, they would be telling us, hey, here are the beats. Did you see the officiating? Wow. Josh Allen can't get over on Patrick Mahomes. The coach, not only Sean McDermott, John Harbaugh needs to go too. John Harbaugh's a disappointment in Baltimore. Are you kidding? If John Harbaugh were to get how many teams would fire their current coach and make a run at John Harbaugh if he all of a sudden became a free agent, if he was let go? Same could be said for Sean McDermott. I'm convinced there would be a team lining up much like there was when Andy Reid was let go from Philadelphia. And we see how that's played out. But those are the beats. That's what you're hearing 48 hours after the AFC Championship game. Sean McDermott needs to be fired. I can't listen to that. And we're critical. We've been critical. The losses are bad.
More than any other show, I would say.
Yeah. The losses are bad. But you're not moving on from that guy. Not now. Not after this season. You can say, well, he hasn't gotten it done against Kansas City. Nobody has. What they're doing, what Kansas City is doing, is something we've never witnessed. We've never seen this kind of domination from a team before. 3 straight Super Bowls, a chance to three-peat. It's never happened before. We can appreciate that if you step back and take your fan glasses off. But it doesn't make the pain any less. It still hurts. It's still raw today, right? I have people calling me, knowing that I'm a Bears guy, but still say, hey, are you okay? Because they just know the region took a hit. The region took an L. Everybody in Western New York felt that loss.
This is a place where it's unlike any other NFL market, Danger, where productivity is determined by whether the Buffalo Bills win or lose. How productive was everybody yesterday? Be honest.
Yeah.
You're walking around. I made it on the show, but I'm in a different spot here where I lost sleep. I'm thinking about all these angles and things we're going to talk about in the show and things that aren't being said. And well, that's not very productive when you get only a few hours sleep.
Felt pretty good on Saturday. Not going to lie. Saturday felt pretty good. I mean, ending sentences with "Go Bills," greeting people and saying goodbye to people by saying "Go Bills." Yeah, that was Saturday. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, and now we have to kind of dust ourselves off, get back into it. So, the One Bills Live guys looking ahead and starting to talk about roster needs and things that we could be looking at here in the offseason.
Yeah, and by the end of the week, we're going to try to get somebody on from the Senior Bowl.
Mhm.
That is this weekend, and it's the one event, Danger, where, hey, Senior Bowl, and we don't watch it, but we're just curious, okay, who's going to be down there and, who might be on the board. We haven't even touched that. We haven't scratched the surface of that yet.
Lots of players for both the Chiefs and the Eagles who played in the Senior Bowl. Kareem Hunt comes to mind. I mean, there's a handful of players that, kind of got noticed and got their profiles elevated by having decent performances at the Senior Bowl. As far as the Bills, Chris Brown discussing earlier today on One Bills Live, the Bills need help with their pass rush and the defensive line.
But I would agree they need defensive line help. They need a premier edge rusher, and they're going to need some new young defensive tackles because Daquan Jones is 34 years old, and Austin Johnson is a free agent. Jordan Phillips is a free agent. So that's kind of where it is. You got to refortify your defensive front, and ideally you have an elite pass rusher added to this mix for this roster next year.
That's Chris Brown earlier today on One Bills Live discussing off-season needs for the Buffalo Bills. We're going to talk to Rochester Americans head coach Mike Leone. He's stopping by the sports bar here in the next 15, 20 minutes or so. And it was an unbelievable weekend, specifically Saturday night for the Rochester Americans in Hartford, where we saw a line brawl against the Hartford Wolfpack. And, Gino, if I may, the Dandalorian pulled up the actual audio from Saturday night's line brawl. It's just under 2 minutes. But
it's under 2 minutes.
I think
let's take the call first.
Okay.
And then we'll have the line brawl here. It was Mossbrooks on the call. And all I can say is what I heard, and I was getting out of the RIT game at that point, and turn on Andrew, and, you just hear penalty, 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 penalty. What did I miss?
Yeah.
What did I miss?
Yeah, good stuff.
Justin and Rondecoy joining us at 866-4FAN. Justin, what's up, buddy?
How you doing, guys?
Hey.
I just had kind of a quick request for a future show idea. I just like to talk about maybe a game plan for the organization in terms of how do we build moving forward to finally take down the Chiefs. Is our defensive scheme need to be adjusted so that we're more aggressive? Maybe less zone, more. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do we need that big stud on the outside that Josh can go to no matter what, or should they have given Cook probably 20 more carries, which I'm of the opinion of, maybe stack up on the offensive line even more? Or is it, when the Giants beat the Patriots with that pass rush, all those DNs, is that something we need to do, is just keep sending guys off the corner and keep them in the pocket instead of letting them run for all those third down and touchdowns? But, yeah, that's just my quick request. Thanks for taking my call. I'll hang up and listen.
All right. Thanks, Justin.
Hey,
Yeah,
Justin, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yes
quick,
to
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Check. All seriousness, by the time you do that, the Chiefs are such a chameleon, they'll change. The idea that the Chiefs became this defensive team when the 13-second game, they weren't as good as they were now. So, yes, I think that cut you played from Brownie, too, talking about the Bills need to get a premier pass rusher. Oh, you have a Hall of Fame guy in Von Miller.
Yeah, I agree that he's a Hall of Famer, but he has not been a Hall of Famer with
I'm
the
just
Bills.
saying,
Yeah.
that's kind of the message there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that
You need more. You need more than what you have.
Maybe you're moving on.
And Daquan Jones at age 34, hey, look, we all like Daquan Jones, but can you upgrade? Can you get somebody younger at that position? Yeah, I think you probably can. You might already have some of those people in the building, but keep fortifying it. Keep adding to it. You can never have enough on the defensive line when you're talking about how you rotate through those guys. And I would say the same thing for the secondary. And that came to bite him in the ass when Benford left the game, and you were forced to put Kyrie Elam in there. You're not talking about a guy that you picked up off the street in the middle of the season. You're talking about a former first-round draft pick who was your depth piece and was targeted. He was exposed.
Yeah, that would be something maybe we'll go through at some point. From that roster against Kansas City, the 53 that were on the field, how many of these guys won't be on the team? I would say maybe over under 10.
I think that's fair.
That's
yeah,
fair.
When you consider the amount of free agents that are going to hit the market, and some notable names as well that become unrestricted free agents. we were discussing it yesterday with Nate Gary. We were discussing it yesterday with Ryan Talbot. But you could start with guys like Ty Johnson, guys like Amari Cooper, Mac Hollins, certainly Rasul Douglas, and Damar Hamlin. I mean, if you want to fortify your secondary, are you bringing those guys back? Are you looking for an opportunity to upgrade?
I welcome Damar Hamlin as a backup. As Chris Brown kind of pointed out, that was the plan. The plan was actually Mike Edwards.
Right.
And that didn't work out.
Right.
Before we get to this beautiful audio of Amerks hockey, Mike calling in. What's up, Mike? Buddy?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Anytime.
So I have a unique take here in terms of the Super Bowl, because I see, a lot of fans are like, oh, I'm boycotting, I'm not watching.
Yeah, sure.
So if you are a Bills fan, and let's just say hypothetically, if you knew that if the Chiefs won and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce would probably retire, are you rooting for the Chiefs?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Because now they're out of the way, and then I'm sure
here's my answer, because compare it to the millionaires and billionaires, it's never enough. They'll win the 3, but you know what? We could really put this out of reach. Let's go get 4. So the answer is no. I wouldn't root for that. Danger, what say you?
From the moment I knew what this matchup was going to be, my first thought was, there's one player that's going to be on the field that I am enamored with and have been enamored with as long as he's been a pro. In fact, from back his time at Penn State, and that's Saquon. I would love to see Saquon win. I'm rooting for the Eagles because of one player, and that player is Saquon Barkley. I want to see that dude get a ring and just further cement the dysfunction that exists with the Giants. That the idea that they let that guy go to a division rival and he's doing what he's doing this year. If Saquon gets a ring, then I'll be happy for him.
All right, fair enough. Just figured what you guys' thoughts were.
All right, thanks, Mike. Yeah, no, I can't root for the Chiefs under any circumstance. They are right alongside the Patriots. Congratulations, in my mind.
Saturday night in Hartford, the Rochester Americans took on the Wolfpack. Now, a little bit of history here between these two teams, right? It was Hartford here in Rochester, I want to say, that there was questionable play by Hartford, runs Felix Sandstrom out of the game.
So this goes back to last year when Felix Sandstrom was playing for Lehigh Valley. Ben Harper and him got into it. Harper, for some other reason, this was some like baseball sort of crap, like I'm going to exact revenge, but he does it, and it's a suspension that Harper gets. But it's a very dirty hit. And when we talked to Mike Leone, like, hey, you're going to remember that? He said, yep, we'll remember that.
So this was earlier this season.
That was back in November here in Rochester.
Got it.
So this is the second meeting of the two teams. This time it's in Hartford.
And then a definite after-the-fact shot on by Belzile. Sandstrom got his helmet taken off, and pandemonium is going to continue. Tulio is shaking the gloves with a man. Is he going to go? He will. And down the ice, here comes Dylan Garand, who pushes Sandstrom. Are we going to get a goalie fight? Garand's gloves are off. Sandstrom's gloves are off. A goalie fight. Sandstrom and Garand. And the referee is going to break it up before they can get going. But Garand does not want to dismiss this opportunity. Everybody else has their gloves down too. Slaggert is now going in on a man. Komarov is wrestling someone on the board. Plague is there with Grew. Belzile and Slaggert dropped the gloves. Now Tulio skates off the ice. Equipment everywhere. We'll need a Zamboni for that alone. And now Joshua's gloves are off. Jagger Joshua and Matt Robertson go toe-to-toe. And Joshua throwing some heavy haymakers. He's now grappled on, trying to free his hand as Robertson is with him. There's another fight now. Komarov absolutely hammered Berard with a hook in the corner. Be surprised if Berard is okay after that. Meanwhile, Jagger Joshua tackled onto the ice. This is the most chaotic scrum we have seen this season, and possibly in some time for the Rochester Americans. Nobody left their seats to go to the concessions at the end of this period. And I think both sides are finally done with one another. Everybody begins to do cleanup duty. And why not a chuck-a-puck, add that to the ice as a fan sent that on to the sheet. But we might have a little bit until the Zamboni comes out. Pure chaos at XL Center.
Andrew Mossbrooks.
How-
Nice.
Gosh, how close was that to guys going over the boards?
It looked like there was some restraint there.
Yeah.
A little bit of restraint.
Yeah, I mean, that has to be like forever. Maybe when we get to the anniversary and feeling bad about Sabres hockey, we'll just pull up that audio. The Marty Baron fight against the late Ray Emery. And that still makes me proud of, Sabres hockey. But my gosh, for your team to say no, and everybody drops the gloves, your goaltender, come on, ref, let the goalies fight there.
Yeah, I know. That was unfortunate. I would have loved to have seen that.
Oh, look, the Amherst are in a good position. Hartford, do your part and get to. Can you imagine if these two teams met in the Eastern Conference Final?
It would be so great. It would be so great. I don't give Hartford much of a chance, but we'll see. We'll see. And we'll get Mike Leone on with us here in a couple few. We'll get his perspective on the brawl from Saturday night, the win for the Amherst, and look ahead to Utica coming to town to take on the Amherst at Blue Cross Arena tomorrow night. All right, let's take a break here. Gino, you got to get to Fisher.
Yeah, so we will have Leone coming up. We've got Terrible Time Timmy in the wings.
Terrible Take Timmy.
Terrible Take Timmy, as he's known here. Yeah.
Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach, joining us next. Michael F. Florio from NFL Network talks some Bills before happy hour as well. St. John Fisher Naz basketball coming up at 5:30 here on the Fan Rochester.
update.
2 Bills players named as replacements for the Pro Bowl. Running back James Cook going in place of Derrick Henry. Connor McGovern going in place of Chiefs center Creed Humphrey. Josh Allen not going to the Pro Bowl. He gets replaced by Steelers quarterback Russell Wilson. Chris Brown on the Bills roster needs.
You got to find a way to get an elite pass rusher on this roster next year, and like a number one guy that can win at receiver that's probably even a little bit better than, an Amari Cooper. You're at a point now where you have depth on this roster. You have capable depth players. You got to get a couple elite guys to push your roster past the caliber of Kansas City's.
Buffalo Sabres hockey tonight. The team hosting Boston, 7 o'clock for the coverage on 96.5 WCMF. That's because we have St. John Fisher basketball tonight. The Cardinals hosting Nazareth. Our coverage will begin at 5:30. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Back in the sports bar, Danger and Battaglia. Fresh off of 500 weekend against Providence, against Hartford. We welcome in Rochester Americans head coach Mike Leone, good with his time. Join us every week at this time in the sports bar and talk about Saturday night, Coach. I mean, this is one that has everybody, sports fans in Rochester, going nuts. The end of that second period. The unwritten rule of it's not an unwritten rule. It's a rule of hockey. I mean, I remember being a youth hockey player. You never shoot the puck after a whistle. You never shoot the puck after a horn. What kind of message did your team send to the entirety of the AHL with that performance in Hartford on Saturday night?
Yeah, you don't get those games often. You go into every game, you don't know what it's going to require or take to win a hockey game. But I was really proud of the group. Guys I think it speaks to the togetherness and just camaraderie the guys have in the room and sticking up for one each other. And, I mean, we've had fights in the past, but I don't think I've ever been a part of that. But I thought it was great. I was really proud of, guys that usually probably don't fight. Obviously, Jags is, brought a really physical element to our lineup, but just the way the guys hung in there and stuck up for themselves, and I thought it gave us a lot of momentum going to third period. And it was one of those ones you probably look back on at the end of the year that it's a really close group, but as moments like that bring your group closer together, and it was an enjoyable bus ride home for sure.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, those are the moments that kind of galvanize a squad. And I mentioned, the kind of message that sends to the rest of the AHL. But I think it also sends a message throughout the locker room, right? I mean, like now you've got bonds here with players that have gone through this, the kind of experience that you aren't going to forget for the rest of your career.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think just going back when I first took the job, you always hear about Roch is really skilled and, has a bunch of talent. But for me, I didn't want to be known as just a skilled hockey team. I don't think that's what wins. I think you have to be physical. You have to be engaged. You have to push back. And I think our guys have done a great job of that and really bought into that. And you look at moments in the season, and it's, like I said, it's already a really close group, but opportunities like this that happen in a game really, no one was in the room after the second period, I don't want to say I knew we won the game, but it's that type of feeling, and just the life and excitement of bringing guys together. And it was from my coaching perspective, really awesome experience to be a part of, and really proud of the group of guys, and it was a huge team win for us.
Michael Leone, Rochester Americans head coach, our guest now in the sports bar, Danger and Battaglia. Amerks hosting Utica tomorrow night at Blue Cross Arena. You have the task of managing a group of players, a roster that is fluid throughout the course of the year. Guys go up, guys come down. Guys get added to the roster. We heard of Nicholas Aube-Kubel clearing waivers. Could we be seeing some reinforcements in the form of Aube-Kubel here with the Amerks? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he'll obviously a tough situation. You want to respect a player. You never want to get sent down on waivers, but he cleared waivers, and I'm really excited to coach him. I have a lot of respect for him as a player. He's played a lot of games in the NHL. Not many people get to say they're a Stanley Cup champion, and he was a part of a team that won a Stanley Cup, which not too many people. That's why you're in the game. So I got a lot of respect for him, and I know it's a difficult situation, but we're really excited to have him, and I think he'll be a really good player for us, and I think it'll be a smooth transition for him. We're excited. He'll be in the lineup tomorrow night.
Nice. Michael Leone, Rochester Americans head coach, our guest in the sports bar. Another name, and I think this is kind of in the same vein of your ability to manage this roster through the ups and the downs of the roster call-ups. And Tyson Kozak feels like he's been on a bit of a yo-yo here, back and forth between rosters. What have you seen from him in the opportunities that's been awarded, not just with Buffalo, but also throughout the season here in Roch?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great story. I mean, if you just look at a seventh-round pick, battled injuries his last two seasons. Probably if you start this season, there's not too many, people that are probably getting too excited about him. Or, we have a lot of first-round picks, but, when you talk about earning it and playing the game the right way, and you want to give opportunities to players that do things right, that sometimes, it's not always on the stat sheet, but he had career highs in goals and assists. And, I remember when his first call up, and, I kind of pounded the table for him because I just think he helps. At the end of the day, he's a kid that you want out there in the last 5 minutes of the game. And I think he went up there, and you got to take advantage of your opportunity and play winning hockey, especially the role that he's in when he goes up there. And I think he's done that, and I think he's made them better and awarded another call up. And you look at what Lindy says about him, how he's utilizing him, and it's a credit to the kid and a great story for other players, especially guys in the room. Your talent will get you so far, but it's the kids that are willing to pay the price to ultimately help you win hockey games.
Amerks head coach Mike Leone joining us in the sports bar, Danger and Battaglia on the Fan, your proud home of Rochester Americans hockey, back on home ice tomorrow night against Utica. We got news today also, Coach, that Brett Murray is getting added to the AHL All-Star roster. Take a second here, just discuss what he's meant to the team so far this year. A well-deserved honor.
Yeah, it was really cool. I got a call last night. I think Bal Balbalous is still up with Columbus, and there's an opportunity that opened up, and with Murr, I just wanted to call him and ask, because it's tough. Some guys might have plans during All-Star break, but he was really excited, and I think he was, I wouldn't say shocked, but he's been in pro hockey for 6 years, and it's really great to see him get rewarded. I mean, if you look at what he's done for our team this year, I think he's got as many goals as he did last year and as many points, and we're in 16, 17 last games. He's on pace for a career high. Knock on wood, I hope he could score 35 goals for us. That's what he's on pace for, but he's been great. His leadership, the way he plays the game, the way he practices. Being in the league for a short amount of time, it's great to have young talent, but you really need older guys to lead the way and come up with big goals in key situations. He leads the league in power play goals. I can't say enough good things about him and what he's meant for our group, and it's kind of cool to see a guy, I wouldn't say he's an older guy, but a guy that's been around for 5-6 years here to get recognized, his production. And at the end of the day, to be an all-star, you have to produce, and he's produced at a really high level for us. So hats off to him, and really excited for him to get the opportunity.
And along with Big Murr, we know that Isaac Rosen and Devin Levi also going to be representing the Amerks at the AHL All-Star Game as well. And Rosen with the big hat trick on Saturday night as well. Devin Levi, we've talked about plenty with you, Coach. I mean, these are two players, two guys that are making the most of their opportunities here at this level with a very bright future ahead.
Yeah, no, Rosie's been great. He's another one. He's on pace to, have the most points he's ever scored. But I like, especially lately, he's been more engaged in willingness to go into battles and stay on pucks. And I think that's the next thing in his development is to make sure that, whenever his time comes, because I do think he's going to be an NHL player, is just making sure your play away from the puck, his skill set is an NHL skill set. And it's just making sure that those things, the things that he can control in his game that are getting better, and I think he's done that, and he's off to a great start. And Dev's done a really good job for us. Obviously, his record speaks for itself, but his ability, I think it's really important for his development to play meaningful hockey as a goalie down the stretch, and, he's carried the mail when he's been in the net. So, yeah, very thankful to have all three guys, and they've done a great job for us, and the reason why we're, where we're at right now.
Utica, the opponent, on home ice again tomorrow night, Blue Cross Arena. Is it going to feel fresh and different to play a North Division opponent? Once again, it feels like it's been a while.
Yeah, it would be nice. We've been on the bus, a lot. Look at our road record. I think we're 17-5 on the road, or 17-6, and we haven't been home. It's been kind of scattered, but I think we're in a hotel room one time the next month, so we got to make sure we're taking advantage of, playing division opponents on our home ice and taking care of what we need to take care of. But we're excited about being home on this stretch. It's been we've played a lot of games on the road so far, so everybody's excited, and just make sure we finish these games really strong before the break comes.
Utica, the opponent on Wednesday night, tomorrow night, and then Friday night, the Amerks are home once again. Syracuse comes to town. You'll be able to hear all the action on your home of Amerks hockey, the Fan Rochester. Danger and Battaglia in the sports bar. Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach, good with his time, joining us every week at this time. Coach, best of luck this week, and we'll look forward to talking to you again on Tuesday.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
You got it. There he is, Mike Leone, Rochester Americans head coach. Team fresh off a win, Hartford Wolfpack on Saturday night, 6-3, with a line brawl and everything that went with that. An unbelievable atmosphere and a win for the Rochester Americans. It puts the rest of the AHL on notice. And now some North Division opponents on the schedule starting tomorrow night with the Utica Comets here on the Fan Rochester. Michael F. Florio, NFL Network. We'll talk some Bills next on the Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester, is everywhere.
If you need a winter warm-up, go to Market View Liquor for the best selection, price, and advice. Order through Instacart online for curbside pickup, shipping, or local deliver within 10 miles of the store. Market View Liquor.